Family gatherings always made me uneasy, but I used to think that was just me. Too sensitive, too observant, too aware of pauses other people ignored. That night, it was supposed to be a celebration. The living room was full, voices overlapping, plates clinking, someone laughing too loudly near the drinks table. The smell of food hung heavy in the air, warm and familiar, like a memory everyone else seemed happy to step into. I stood near the window for a moment before joining the circle, watching my reflection in the glass as if I needed to confirm I was actually there. My parents were hosting. They always did. They liked being seen as generous, welcoming, proud of their family. Especially proud of my sister. She stood near them, glowing in that effortless way she always had. Confident. Centered. People gravitated toward her without thinking. Compliments flowed easily, about her work, her plans, her future. My parents absorbed every word like proof they'd done something right. I smiled when I was supposed to, nodded at the right moments, played my role. No one asked me much. That wasn't unusual. At some point, my father tapped his glass lightly with a spoon, the sound cutting through the room. Conversations slowed. People turned. My mother moved closer to him, already smiling. "I just want to say something," my father said. I felt it then, that small tightening in my chest. Instinct, maybe, or experience. He talked about family, about how proud he was, about how important it was to celebrate success together. People nodded, murmuring approval. My mother squeezed my sister's arm, eyes shining. And especially, my mother added, stepping in smoothly, "We're so proud of her." She gestured toward my sister. Applause followed. Someone whistled. My sister laughed, pretending to be embarrassed, but she didn't step back. She leaned into it. I clapped too, quietly. Then my father chuckled, shaking his head as if he were about to say something playful. "Honestly," he said, "sometimes we joke that we wish she was our only child." The words landed wrong. Not loudly, not dramatically, just wrong. There was a split second where no one reacted, like the room itself was processing what it had heard. Then someone laughed. Another followed. "Oh, you don't mean that," someone said lightly. My mother laughed too, not correcting him, not looking at me, just laughing like it was harmless, like it was obvious who the statement applied to and who it didn't matter for. I felt heat rush to my face, but my body stayed still. Very still. I looked at my parents. They were smiling, comfortable, unaware or uninterested in the way their words had cut through me. I looked at my sister. She didn't look surprised. She didn't look guilty either. She just lifted her glass slightly, accepting the moment like it belonged to her. No one looked at me. That was the loudest part. I didn't speak. I didn't excuse myself. I didn't rush to the bathroom or reach for my phone. I stood there, present, letting the sentence echo until it settled somewhere deep inside me. "We wish your sister was our only child." Not "we didn't mean it like that." Not "that came out wrong." Just silence. Acceptance. Continuation. Conversation slowly restarted, like the moment had passed. People shifted, refilled their drinks, returned to safer topics. The party moved on. But I didn't. I felt something rearrange itself quietly. Not anger. Not heartbreak. Recognition. This wasn't a joke. It was a truth they'd never bothered to soften before. I stayed another 20 minutes. Long enough that no one could accuse me of making a scene. Long enough to prove, to myself more than anyone, that I wasn't running. Then I picked up my coat. My mother noticed. "You're leaving already?" she asked, surprised. "Yes," I said simply. She frowned. "Everything okay?" I looked at her. Really looked. At the concern that only appeared when something disrupted the atmosphere. I'm fine, I said. I stepped outside into the cool night air, my breath visible for just a moment before disappearing. The door closed behind me, sealing the laughter back inside. I stood there, keys in my hand, heart steady in my chest. They'd finally said it out loud. And now that I'd heard it, I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't pretend I hadn't. The drive home was quiet. Not the peaceful kind, just empty. I didn't turn the radio on. I didn't replay conversations out loud. I let the words sit where they had landed, heavy and unmoving. By the time I reached my apartment, something had already started to make sense. That sentence hadn't shocked me because it was new. It shocked me because it was familiar. Growing up, I'd learned early that love in our house wasn't divided evenly. It was directed, focused, awarded. My sister had always been the one with stories attached to her. The talented one, the difficult one, the one people made excuses for. If she forgot something, it was because she was overwhelmed. If she failed, it was because she was misunderstood. If I succeeded, it was expected. I was the child who didn't cause problems. The one teachers described as easy. The one relatives praised for being mature. At the time, I thought that meant I was doing something right. Now I understood it meant I wasn't demanding anything. At school events, my parents sat closer to her. At family dinners, they asked about her plans first. When money was tight, her needs were discussed openly. Mine were assumed to be manageable. I learned not to ask. Not because I was strong, but because asking never changed the answer. That night, lying in bed, memories surfaced the way they always had, quietly, without permission. The time I won an award and my mother forgot to attend because my sister needed her. The birthday where my gift came with a reminder of how expensive things were. The countless next times that never came. I told myself those moments didn't matter, that parents did their best, that comparison was unfair. But comparison had never been my doing. The next morning, my phone buzzed before I'd even had coffee. A family group chat message. Last night was fun. We should do this more often. No mention of what had been said. No correction. No acknowledgement. A few people replied with emojis. Hearts. Laughing faces. I stared at the screen and felt something settle again, that same calm certainty. They weren't embarrassed. They were comfortable. Later that day, my sister texted me. You disappeared. Everything okay? I read it twice. She didn't say I'm sorry. She didn't say that was messed up. Just, everything okay? As if I'd tripped over something minor. As if the problem was my exit, not their words. I typed a reply. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. There was nothing to explain. Explaining required the other person to be confused. She wasn't. At work, I found it harder to focus than usual. Not because I was distracted, but because I was noticing things I'd ignored before. How often I volunteered. How rarely I was asked what I wanted. How easy it was for people to rely on my silence. That evening, my parents called. I let it ring. Then again. On the third call, I answered. We were wondering why you left so suddenly, my mother said. No greeting. No pause. I said goodbye, I replied. Yes, but, she hesitated, then continued. You seemed upset. I wasn't, I said truthfully. My father's voice joined in. Then why are you acting like this? Like what? Distant. I almost smiled. I'm thinking, I said. There was a beat of silence. Then my mother laughed lightly. You always overthink. Maybe I did. But this time, thinking felt necessary. I just wanted to check, she continued, that you didn't take your father's comment personally. I closed my eyes. You didn't correct him, I said. Well, you know how he jokes. Yes, I replied. I do. Another pause. Less comfortable this time. You know we love you, she added quickly. The words landed flat. Love without attention. Love without defense. Love that didn't require action. After we hung up, I sat on the edge of my couch and finally allowed myself to name something I'd avoided for years. I wasn't overlooked. I was optional. And once that truth was named, it rearranged everything that came after. That night, I opened my laptop, not to confront, not to vent, but to review my own life with fresh eyes. Where my time went, where my money went, where my energy disappeared without return. Patterns emerged easily once I stopped excusing them. I didn't feel angry. I felt awake. And that awareness carried a quiet question with it, one I couldn't ignore anymore. If I was never meant to be essential to them, why was I living like I was? The realization didn't change how my family treated me. It changed how I saw it. Once you notice a pattern, it stops blending into the background. It sharpens. Every interaction carries weight. The first sign came 2 days later. My sister called. She didn't start with the party. She started with a problem. I might need help, she said, voice already tense. Just temporarily. I leaned back against my kitchen counter and waited. My rent's late, she continued. And there's this fee, if I don't clear it by Friday. How much? I asked. She told me. It was an amount I'd covered before without question. An amount small enough to feel reasonable, large enough to matter. I'll think about it, I said. There was a pause on the line. You always help, she replied, not accusing. Just stating a fact. I know, I said. Another pause. Longer this time. What's that supposed to mean? She asked. It means I'm thinking, I repeated. She sighed. Are you still upset about the other night? I'm not upset, I said honestly. I'm paying attention. That seemed to irritate her more. You're being dramatic, she snapped. Mom and Dad didn't mean it like that. I'm not asking what they meant, I said. I'm asking why it didn't bother anyone. She scoffed. Because it was obvious. Obvious to who? I asked. She didn't answer. That afternoon, my mother stopped by unannounced. She always did that when something needed to be fixed. I brought leftovers, she said, stepping inside before I could respond. She set the container on the counter and turned to face me, concern already arranged on her face. Your sister says you're being distant, she began. I waited. She's under a lot of pressure, my mother continued. This isn't the time to pull away. So there is a time, I said. She blinked. What? A time when I'm allowed to say no. She sighed. You know what I mean. I don't, I replied. Her voice softened. You're the stable one. She needs support. And I don't. She looked away. That answer was enough. By the end of the week, the pressure had become collective. Calls from relatives I barely spoke to. Messages framed as concern. Questions disguised as advice. You know how your parents are. Your sister looks up to you. Family is family. No one asked how I was doing. They asked when I'd fix it. Friday came and went. I didn't send the money. The consequences arrived faster than I expected. My sister showed up at my place that evening, face tight, eyes sharp. This is because of that stupid comment, isn't it? she said the moment I opened the door.
It's because of everything, I replied.
She laughed, incredulous. You're really going to punish me? I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm stopping. Her smile faded.
You think you're better than us now?
No, I said. I think I've been invisible long enough. She crossed her arms. Mom's crying. I'm not responsible for that, I replied. You're tearing this family apart, she shot back. I shook my head. I didn't say those words at the party. She stared at me like she'd never heard them that way before. You could have laughed it off, she said. Yes, I agreed. I could have. Silence stretched between us. Then she turned, walked away without another word. That night, my phone filled with messages. Not angry yet. Worried. Confused. What's going on with you? This isn't like you. You're overreacting. I turned my phone off. For the first time, I didn't feel the urge to explain myself. Instead, I opened a notebook and wrote one sentence at the top of the page. I am not the family safety net. I underlined it. Then I began writing what that actually meant. What I would no longer do. What I would no longer accept. What I owed, and what I didn't. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't emotional. It was practical. And it terrified me how right it felt. Because somewhere along the way, I realized this wasn't just about my parents or my sister. It was about who I became when I believed I had to earn my place. And for the first time, I was questioning that belief. They called it a conversation. My mother texted that morning, polite and careful, like she was handling something fragile. We should all sit down and talk. Clear the air. I knew what that meant. Still, I agreed. We met at my parents' house that evening. The same living room where birthdays were celebrated, achievements applauded, and uncomfortable things quietly ignored. The furniture hadn't changed, but the atmosphere felt tighter, like the room itself was bracing. Everyone was already there when I arrived. My parents sat side by side on the couch. My sister occupied the armchair, legs crossed, phone face down on her knee. An aunt sat near the window, invited, I suspected, as a witness, not a participant. I took the only empty chair. My mother started. We just want to understand what's going on with you. I've been pretty clear, I said. She nodded quickly. We know you were hurt, but holding on to that isn't healthy. My father leaned forward. This family has always relied on each other. Some more than others, I replied. My sister sighed loudly. Can we not do this like it's a courtroom? Then don't put me on trial, I said. That earned me a look. My mother clasped her hands. You've always been strong, independent. We never worried about you. That wasn't a compliment, I said. Silence followed, the kind that waited for someone to smooth it over. My father cleared his throat. Your sister made a mistake. She's under pressure. She didn't mean to hurt you. I know, I said. But you did. My mother frowned. We didn't say anything wrong. You didn't say anything at all, I replied. My sister laughed softly. So what? You want an apology for a joke? I want acknowledgement, I said, and change. She rolled her eyes. There it is. There what is? I asked. The drama, she said. You're acting like the victim now. My aunt shifted uncomfortably. I kept my voice even. I didn't choose that sentence. You did. My father's tone hardened. Enough. This is going nowhere. No, I said. It's going exactly where it's always been going. I'm just not staying quiet anymore. My mother's eyes filled. You're breaking my heart. I nodded. That's not my intention. But it might be the outcome. She looked genuinely shocked, as if outcomes were something she'd never considered. So what do you want? My father asked. I want you to stop assuming I'll fix things, I said. I want my presence to be optional, not convenient. And I want you to stop speaking about me like I'm not in the room. My sister scoffed. You're asking us to change who we are. I'm asking you to notice me, I replied. The room went quiet. Then my father stood. This is ridiculous, he said. You've always been welcome here. Welcome isn't the same as wanted, I said. That landed. My mother wiped her eyes. You're overreacting. I stood up slowly. No, I said. I'm responding appropriately, for the first time. My sister shook her head. If you walk out now, don't expect things to be the same. I looked at her. Really looked. At the confidence she'd built on certainty. On never being questioned. I don't, I said. I picked up my coat. My mother followed me to the door. Please, she whispered. Don't do this. I didn't, I replied. I just stopped pretending. Outside, the air was cold and steady. I took a deep breath, feeling it fill my lungs without resistance. Behind me, the door closed. That night, the messages started almost immediately. From my parents. From my sister. From relatives who'd heard a version of the story that positioned me as unstable, ungrateful, dramatic. I read them without responding. Instead, I did something I'd never done before. I blocked the group chat. The silence that followed was unsettling, but also clean. For the first time, I wasn't bracing myself for the next request, the next correction, the next reminder of where I stood. I slept deeply. The next morning, I woke up with a strange feeling in my chest. Not fear. Space. And in that space, something new began to form. Not anger. Not revenge. Boundaries. Boundaries sound clean when you say them out loud. In practice, they're messy. The first week after the meeting, my phone stayed quiet. Too quiet. I knew that silence. It was the calm before the narrative shifted. When guilt didn't work, confusion followed. When confusion failed, pressure returned wearing a new mask. My mother called on day 8. I just wanted to hear your voice, she said softly. I didn't answer right away. Is there something you need? A pause. Then carefully, your sister's been really struggling. I waited. She's behind again, my mother continued. Just a little help would ease things. There it is, I said, not unkindly. Her breath caught. You don't have to be cold. I'm not being cold, I replied. I'm being clear. She sighed. You've changed. Yes, I said. I warned you. That was the first time I didn't offer an alternative. No advice. No reassurance. No soft landing. When we hung up, I felt the familiar pull, the instinct to fix, to soften the blow, to make it easier for everyone else. I didn't. 2 days later, my sister emailed me. Not a text. An email. Formal. Careful. She explained her situation in bullet points. Income. Expenses. Deadlines. It read like a business proposal written by someone who'd never needed approval before. At the end, she wrote, I know things are tense, but this would really help. No apology. No acknowledgement. I closed the email without replying. That evening, my father showed up at my door. He stood stiffly in the hallway, hands in his coat pockets, eyes scanning my face like he was looking for a version of me he recognized. You're really serious about this, he said. Yes. This isn't how family works, he replied. I nodded. That's what I'm changing. His jaw tightened. Your sister's going to lose her apartment.
She'll figure it out, I said.
He scoffed. You've always been heartless when it comes to money. I met his gaze. No.
I've been generous without being seen.
That stopped him. For a moment, he looked tired. Older than I remembered. You think we didn't notice you? He asked. I think you noticed what you needed, I replied. He left without another word. The consequences didn't arrive all at once. They trickled in. My sister downsized. Quietly. No announcement. No posts. She stopped attending certain gatherings. When she did show up, she stayed close to my parents, less confident, more watchful. My parents adjusted too. They stopped hosting as often, stopped calling as frequently. The family orbit shifted, unstable without its center of gravity. And me. I noticed how much time I had. Time I hadn't realized I'd been giving away. I signed up for a class I'd postponed for years. I took weekends offline. I stopped checking my phone before bed. One afternoon, my aunt called, the same one who'd been at the meeting.
I just wanted to say, she began, hesitant, you handled that better than I could have.
Thank you, I said. She's not coping well, my aunt added. I know, I replied. You're allowed to choose yourself, she said quietly. Even if they don't like it. After we hung up, I sat with that sentence for a long time. Aloud. It felt strange, needing permission even now. The next family gathering came and went without me. No invitation. No explanation. I didn't ask. Instead, I spent that evening with friends who didn't need me to earn my place. We talked about work, about travel, about nothing important. I laughed without checking myself. Later that night, my sister messaged me. Just one line. I didn't think you'd really stop. I stared at the screen. Neither had I. I typed back slowly. I didn't stop loving you. I stopped disappearing for you. She didn't reply. I didn't expect her to. Because boundaries aren't about being understood. They're about being honored. And even when they aren't, they still hold. Time didn't fix things. It clarified them. Months passed, and the space between us settled into something steady. Not peaceful, not hostile, just defined. Conversations became rare and brief. Updates replaced confessions. Obligation no longer disguised itself as concern. My parents adjusted first. They learned not to ask for help without framing it carefully. They stopped speaking for me. When my name came up in conversation, it was neutral, almost formal. I noticed the effort it took them, and the resentment underneath it. My sister took longer. She oscillated between silence and distance, between vague messages and carefully worded updates. Sometimes I could sense what she wanted to say beneath the surface. Other times, she sounded like someone mourning the loss of something she believed was hers by default. I didn't fill the gaps. I learned what it felt like to let things be unfinished. One afternoon, my mother called unexpectedly. I ran into someone today, she said. They asked about you. I waited. I realized I didn't know what to say, she admitted. I don't know you like I thought I did. The words surprised me, not because they were emotional, but because they were honest. I'm getting to know myself too, I replied. She didn't argue. Later that week, I attended a small gathering. Friends, co-workers, people who knew me without history attached. No one introduced me in comparison to anyone else. No one praised someone else at my expense. I existed without explanation. It felt light. The memory of the family party still surfaced sometimes. The sound of my father's voice. My mother's laughter. The way the room had accepted the sentence without question. But it no longer hurt the way it once had. That moment hadn't broken me. It had named me. It had shown me exactly where I stood, and more importantly, where I didn't want to remain. The next time I saw my sister was months later, briefly, at a distant relative's event. We exchanged polite greetings. Nothing more. No tension. No warmth either. As we passed each other, she paused. "You really meant it," she said quietly. "Yes," I replied. She nodded once, as if something finally clicked. "I didn't think you'd choose yourself." "I didn't know I was allowed to," I said. She looked away. That was the closest we came to closure.
And it was enough.
I stopped measuring my worth by how useful I was. I stopped mistaking endurance for love. I stopped believing that silence meant peace. I learned that being unwanted by people who never truly saw you isn't rejection. It's release. The night my parents said they wished my sister was their only child, they thought they were making an offhand comment. They didn't realize they were handing me clarity. And clarity is powerful. It doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It simply leaves. I didn't lose my family that night. I lost a version of myself that was willing to shrink to stay. And in its place, I gained something steadier than approval. I gained self-respect.